colleagues, friends, good afternoon. I'm happy to welcome you back after lunch. I hope the discussions that we have yet to have will be just as interesting, as thought-provoking as the ones before lunch. We've had quite a few interesting ideas in the first part. Welcome to part two, the panel session on digital financial assets without borders. We decided to call the discussion like this because it's true that new technology these days is the bridge that connects traditional financial systems and new decentralized technology. More and more today, digital currency platforms, tokenization, public blockchains, they're all increasingly more connected with our material world, regulatory world, technology world, and becoming more and more transparent. We see growing interest not just from investors and businesses, but also from many nations, many nation states, which would like to build an environment of trust for innovation and investment in finance. And today we will talk about how to strike the balance there between innovation and regulation, between sovereignty and openness, and we will also talk about the forms of cooperation that will be helpful for the digital financial asset market to unleash its potential. We thought long and hard about who should participate in this panel session. We looked at the traditional members of our sessions, usually operators of payment systems, so we decided to do something different this time. Which is why today all of the participants of the digital asset ecosystem that exists in our field are represented here on this stage. Happy to see you all. I'm sure we will have a very lively professional conversation on the future of financial assets without borders, where financial assets are a real, actively used instrument. I would like to begin this panel session with a presentation prepared by Strategy Partners, a speech on digital assets. Roman, the floor is yours. Thank you, Sergey. Thank you for inviting me here. Over the past years, we have been working really tightly with tech sector companies, and among other things, we analyze promising markets, promising segments. A couple of years ago, we met the blockchain lab at Sberbank, and this year we decided to do a study of the asset tokenization market. So my presentation will be about just that. Speaking of the financial market, as was said today many times, it is going through a transformation. One of the trends of this transformation is decentralization. The governance is decentralizing and services are becoming more and more accessible. Tokens are used for settlements and for investments alike. This is all underpinned as its core unifying technology by the technology of distributed ledgers and blockchain specifically. Based on blockchain, we have the Web3 technology and decentralized finances. Decentralized finance is one of the use cases of Web3 in the financial sector. And then based on blockchain, we also have the tokenization of assets, where tokens are the embodiment of the ownership economy as part of Web3. So 4 main pillars here, connecting and permeating this entire new financial system in the current landscape, determining its future development. Abroad, we have other systems of financial markets emerging, the development of interbank settlements based on blockchain, and also the launch of CBDC, the development of stablecoins, and the distribution of asset tokenization in different classes of assets. Speaking of tokenization, the tokenization of assets is probably one of the main trends in the financial market. Primarily, what we see is that financial assets are being tokenized. At least 60% of all tokenized assets are financial assets, according to various estimates. But technically speaking, you can tokenize any asset. It can be real estate, or precious metals, or energy commodities, art, anything. The issue is that currently global tokenized assets account for a rather small portion of it. The tokenization of, say, wine is just a fraction of the total volume of tokenized assets. But according to various estimates, this structure will be changing, and the share of tokenized non-financial assets will only be growing. And I think same goes for Russia. In Russia as well, what we observe is that financial assets are dominating in terms of tokenization, meaning assets that have debt-related nature at their core. So to continue with the case of Russia, according to the conservative guidance, we believe that the volume of tokenized assets in Russia will grow to 2.5 trillion rubles by 2030. Speaking of the threshold, the semi-optimistic scenario, we are talking about rather 2.5 or so trillion by 2030. The optimistic scenario is 10 trillion. And this is based on the growth rate forecasted by the Ministry of Finance, and also add to that the changes in regulation based on market needs and the growth in demand for tokenized assets, but at the same time limited access of investors to the market. As has been said today, the cornerstone of this, the main issue here is regulation, because regulation will define how the market will be developing. And it can potentially grow to the figures, the 10 trillion mentioned on the slide. In conclusion, the market holds real promise. Speaking of our country, one of the most interesting areas is raising capital, attracting investment through tokenized assets. Thank you very much, Roman. As I take it, your research is available someplace. It's publicly available, right? Yes, we have a QR code. You can scan it and access the research. Very good findings, very good observations, very astute. We're going to have this short poll of our own. What do the people in the audience think? Will digital financial assets replace traditional assets? Will traditional assets be digitized, or will we be using DFAs in the future as a basis for completely new instruments? The organizers are going to show the QR code now, so please do participate in the poll and answer the question. Okay, we have the QR code. And while you are voting, we ask this question frequently. I've been listening to your presentation. I heard what you mentioned about wine. Just today, we have published the Abrau d'Urso tokenized asset on our platform. We're not the first ones to do this. Other operators have done similar things. But then again, this is a testimony to this shift towards the tokenization of all kinds of assets. And that's also the opinion of our audience here in this room and watching us online. More than 70% of people in our audience believe that thanks to digitization and tokenization, we will see brand new customer experience. This is great because the regulator representative has been talking about this as well, and Anatoly Popov at the first panel session talked about this need to provide new customer experience and the need to bring new instruments to the market. Dmitry, you are a big specialist in this. You started a long time ago in investment banking, and I know that you have had projects in machine learning, and now you do ESG and DFAs. So how did you answer that question? And what is your take on what's going on at the moment? What business models have materialized? And what business models can we expect? Thank you very much, Sergey. I answered new products clearly. But if we look at the market of DFAs today, out of the 1.5 trillion of issued instruments, 98, maybe 99% are debt instruments. So that is the segment where the market is feeling very strong. That is the short part of the debt curve for now. But as we know, this law that has recently been adopted that defines the term DFA, and we will have corresponding amendments to the tax code. This will mean that DFAs will be similar to bonds from the tax perspective, from the taxation perspective. So I believe in the long run, DFAs will be issued more and more actively and in greater volumes because the advantages are clearly defined. Companies that have set up a proper process for issuing bonds. They can decide on Monday morning that they would like to issue a bond, and if everything is working fine, all their processes are perfect, and then on Thursday or on Friday they can get the money. With DFAs, they can decide the same on Monday morning, and they can get the money the same day. So it's quick, it's efficient, and now that in terms of taxation, DFAs will no longer be a disadvantage, this will be a spur for their development. But I was talking about just debt-related instruments now, but I believe other instruments will also be developing very actively based on DFAs. Sber did digital kilometers, digital wine, digital cocoa beans, and many other platforms experimented with the digitization of precious metals and with the pegging of DFAs to the cost of real estate. I believe the potential here is immense. The potential for experimentation, for looking for models that would elicit the most vivid and emotional response from investors, because these instruments are primarily designed for retail investors, for people to get interested in the product that is used for raising the capital, to enable them to invest in an instrument that doesn't just give you financial yields, but the opportunity to get wine or participate in how much a specific KAMAZ lorry is earning by transporting certain cargo. So clearly we will need improvements in regulation, in the legislative framework, because in order to ensure that DFAs truly enable you to own property, we need adjustments to legislation, because right now you cannot use digital rights to register with the Rosreestr, with the Russian real estate registry. But this is a problem that the regulator is taking very seriously, and the regulator is considering the enhancements of this instrument. So I think there's a big potential there as well. Credit DFAs is another instrument that has a big future, I believe. Banks will be able to transfer credit risk from their balance sheets to investors. There is this hypothesis, and the Bank of Russia is in support of this market hypothesis, that demand for these tools, for these instruments, will come from mainly retail investors. Many banks have this need to reduce the load on their balance sheet and to transfer credit risk to external investors, but that requires full-fledged disclosure information on this risk, and this will also require work on regulatory issues, specifically when it comes to different problematic situations. For example, in case of default, how do you protect the rights of retail investors who bought DFAs that are backed by payments on the loan? What do you do with the recovery of property and things like that? All kinds of issues. But to sum up my opening remarks, I believe that credit DFAs will be evolving thanks to adjustments to tax legislation, and we will see more and more tests of hypotheses where DFAs give an opportunity to not just reap financial rewards, but also get some yields in the form of goods and products. Thank you very much. I do believe a lot of those things as well. Kirill spoke a lot today about tokenization being more of a technical process, while what we need is custodians that will be storing, let's say, wine that we will be tokenizing. The regulator is saying that they're ready to move forward with certain assets, but at the same time, from the perspective of legislation as well needs to go this extra mile along with the tokenization. We are thinking about tokenizing, for example, stakes in LLCs. And we are putting together a proposal related to this. We believe this is a promising area. And I think we will see more and more things getting tokenized. Loan credit DFAs, as you said, is a good example as well. Anya, a question for you. I think most people here are aware of your Telegram channel, subscribers of your Telegram channel, and we're very curious to hear your take on this. What is attracting your subscribers? What is so interesting in this for them? Is it just about hype, or do they see actual business value in this? Because you communicate with your subscribers very actively, so why are they interested in blockchain and Web3? Thank you. Hello, everyone. I have set up my Telegram channel, I set it up 9 years ago, when there was this hype around the topic, but only in narrow circles, people who were experts in this technology and who were not investors, because people who are currently in the market as investors, I mean institutional investors, they came to the market rather late. I am talking about the people who understood what digital financial assets were all about. They exist in this information bubble, in this information field, working on this for more than 10 years. And so 9 years ago, I set up this Telegram channel, and the first thing I wanted to do was raise awareness about this technology as broadly as possible, because when I learned about this technology from my friends, I knew straight away that this would be a disruptive technology, a technology that would affect people's lives, not just in terms of finance, but also in governance, organizational structure, and mindset. Today, the people who are subscribed to my channel and who I talk to look for information that can help us with their own projects, information that will give them some sort of guidance to be proactive. Because if you are reading about technology anyway, in any magazines or news sources, RBC or elsewhere, you're already late. Because what news media are writing about, classic media, legacy media, are things of that were relevant yesterday. That means that for you as an investor, you're already late.
So what I publish in my Telegram channel is something that is going to be hyped in 2-3 years. Well, you know, I can boast with that, because when we started to show cases and analytics, fresh reports from around the world, everything related to blockchain, then we decided to expand the list of topics with, you know, to cover all the entire digital economy. And then my Telegram channel decided to work on other topics, you know, like including AI. But now, if you're actively monitoring what is happening in the world, to the market of neural interfaces, something that was thought crazy but will have an but is promising. It's a multi-billion market in terms of the startup investments, and I think a major case. There are major cases like OpenAI went on scale. I mean, when the companies started to deliver large-scale projects in an industry, this industry loses its zest. Now, neural interfaces in Eastern Europe, in Western Europe, we were covering that when we talking about the technologies, the infrastructure stack, as well as the investments and science. And I can say that what we do is we are the new level think tank that cannot be found on the market. So, Deloitte, McKinsey, and other think tanks that used to be on the market, they have outdated information. For example, if you look at their reports on AI agent implementation, then, I mean, if you are not a developer, you can believe this information because you don't have a general picture in your head. But if you have an expertise, you have a team of professionals who understands the tech stack and the stack related to the integration and all the ROI issues. Some of the things are not on their agenda of these classical traditional consultants, and many high-tech companies are enraged with these reports because they say, well, it's incorrect. Either you make it properly or you don't make it at all. So we try to find the information and to publish the information that should be useful for the people to implement their projects. Thank you very much. Yesterday, we had a very interesting debate and talk. You're mentioning team. You have mentioned it for a couple of times. So who are your team members, digital tech enthusiasts or journalists? Who are they? I have more than 15 people in my team. These are people from diverse industries, because since the topic of my channel, the list of topics covered by my channel is expanded, and everyone who work in my team are not journalists. They are people directly involved in the development of the product. And I have folks from large high-tech companies in the world. So we have access to the information that is not available. I mean, it's very rare that anyone can have this information earlier than us. And if we can, we give this information to our readers, to our audience. So we have a pretty industry-specific experts who help us cover this or that topic. Yeah, that's very important. That's fantastic. Really cool. Yeah. Thank you very much, Igor. Today, when we had the first panel discussion, there was a lot of talk about DFA when there were amendments made introduced in the law 259. There was a concern that DFA could be used for cross-border payments, and the representative of the regulator said that maybe because we do not allow the first issuance done in blockchain, maybe something can be fine-tuned in our regulation, and it can be adapted in a way. But anyway, for us, for a bank, we talk about institutional DeFi, and it's very important to address the risks of our investors and shareholders. And, from this point of view, the global blockchain with these concerns of blockage and coloring cannot really be removed from the agenda. We have to prioritize these concerns, and you, as a head of the company who is directly involved in KYT segment, what do you think about that? Are we ready for the international DFA to come to the market? Can we properly streamline the work of our organizations? Sergey, Franz, hello. First of all, I would like to tell you that we're going to help you in every way, but there are nuances. Against the active development of the DFA and digital currencies in the world, you should remember that from 2014, the regulatory technologies has been developing quite actively. And this is the demand from the state and from the community and the society to mitigate the risks that we have been talking about for quite a while now, and they're very hard to assess all these risks, so maybe it took us quite a while to figure out the proper legislation in our country. And I mean, obviously, in terms of the development, that didn't play out well for the institutionalization of our market. But the growth of the previous couple of years is pretty impressive in terms of the DFA as well as the digital currencies. At the same time, an interesting thing is that despite some delay in regulation in Russia, we see a couple of pretty good KYT players that are adequate to the international level, and they work on an international level, which is surprising because none of the BRICS countries has these players. So there is no regulation, but the self-regulation has been there for quite a while now. Now, we assess this risk differently, and this is the key problem. There is a country-based differentiation of these risks. There is this kind of other facet to the risk management, but the major risk is to lose your asset. And as we discuss this topic, every time we do that, we compare what do we lose in the fiat-based system and in the DeFi system. As of today, USDT, the most popular token, was using the block 2,639 times. And the overall volume of the blocked assets was $1.6 billion. So let's compare. And I mean, these blocks were related to all citizens, to all companies from all countries in the world. So these were not only the transactions of Russian citizens that were blocked. And let's compare the fiat system, the blocks in fiat systems, traditional systems. Currently, we're talking about 100-fold difference in terms of the numbers of blocks. Digital assets are going to develop. There will be regulation. It is going to emerge. It is going to be more complicated. At the same time, the regulatory market is going to grow with it. And the most important thing is that there should be the understanding of the need and on the of that and of the context. And we'll be able to operate within that system, and it will cease to become a high-risk asset. It will lead to normalization of the attitude towards this sector, and I think this is our mission. And I think many share this mission. DFA and digital currencies have to become our basic asset, basic mean that we use every day when it's necessary and efficient. And the infrastructure and the regulation is going to catch up and going to adapt. That's obvious. Thank you. But the global south country is a buzzword really now. So, I mean, like these assets can be kind of colored. Maybe I can kind of mark a Bitcoin to make sure it does not end up in wrong hands. It can be a Bitcoin of mine Bitcoin or a Bitcoin of my corporation. So when we are concerned with the fact that some corporation will mark their assets in a way that we won't be able to use them, maybe we can do the same to protect them. Can this myth be debunked? I should say that cryptocurrency and digital assets overall, they do not live in a vacuum. They become an element of geopolitical strategies that are being ruled out by various countries and corporations. In this sense, we can talk about Iran. They're actively using cryptocurrency, yet everyone who works with it, they understand that this cryptocurrency is marked, therefore its capabilities are limited. It is marked with all KYC providers and state bodies. So basically it is working within the closed perimeter, but that does not mean it cannot be used efficiently. And there are other cases like that. We know Venezuela, they are actively trading with the external world, with other countries. They're using cryptocurrency, and there are many other countries who are doing that and doing that in an efficient manner. And this division between the South and the West, the division is going to grow in digital assets, but it should not be the barrier to the development of this segment. Thank you very much. Great comments, great insights. Dmitry, if we talk about interoperability, I'm going back to the morning discussion. It was very exciting and instructive. We as operators of information systems, you as well as us, this operator of an information system, we cannot negotiate between ourselves, and maybe today there was this phrase of 18 silos that was sound, so maybe it is high time to do that, or maybe there is no business need to deliver that. Is it a big problem? Or maybe we should focus on that to start working more with public blockchain bridges and build bridges to the other countries based on blockchain. What do you think about that? Thank you, Sergey. We'll go from public blockchain to private blockchain for a while. I think that one of the main reasons why interoperability between the various information systems that DFA are based on is the fact that you don't want to share your customers. So if a digital asset of some platform is issued on the blockchain of another platform, the clients of this platform, the platform that issues the asset is sharing their customers with other platforms, and you don't want to do that. But the strategy of creating the operator of information system was to get the interest from the part of the investors and to become the preferred platform, and to hope that other platforms will just leave the market. Platforms wanted to be the dominating players that would create the main investor demand. At the same time, we can see that the issuers face the challenge that the liquidity of separate platforms is not enough to get the demand. To efficiently issue and to target it to the very wide audience, it's important to have platforms where customers will be able where customers from various operators of information systems could gather. And maybe one of the solutions is to create bridges between these operators. The exchange operator bridge is an option. We have two exchangers, and now the operators understand that maybe their advantage is not to actually get the largest investors base, but to offer the most exciting products and to make sure that they have the best product factory. So I expect that next year the operators of exchange will be connected to, and other elements to ensure the interoperability between various operators of information systems will be set up. One of the hypotheses right now is the creation of the single common blockchain, where that various operators could connect to, and based on that blockchain, the DFA could be issued, and that would be available to customers of various operators of information systems. And obviously, another thing that we didn't mention is the acquisition of foreign investors in Russian assets. I mean, we appreciate the fact that it's hard to do that, because first of all, there's no understanding what is a closed Russian blockchain based on which operators of information system are working. There's no understanding how the legislation works. Maybe for them it would be more promising to buy tokens that would be based on open blockchain. And I think, therefore, that to work with foreign investors, the best way would be to use the open blockchain. It could be used for investments of foreign investors in Russian projects, as well as the investments of Russian investors in foreign projects. Thank you very much. I do support that point of view. I mean, maybe our operators do not have this kind of contempt to, these things. I mean, we're committed to delivering the best customer experience, but I mean, sometimes you have limitations in terms of the resources or technologies. So, I mean, every operator was developing along its own development path, and now blockchain can resolve this issue. Let's continue. We're talking not only about blockchain, but AI as well. Anna, your channel it has a very exciting name. It's called Blockchain Brain Space Tech 3.0. All these things. What do you think about the synergy of blockchain and AI? I see it's written on the slide, by the way. Is it possible to use AI and blockchain? Where do you see these technologies help each other and have synergies and help each other to develop actively? Yes, thank you very much for the question. I think that it is, the integration of every technology with each other is very important, because blockchain can be good for AI and vice versa. And I can say that in the recent 18 months, we have seen a major development of AI agents. And currently, these AI agents are not that effective, and or do not have the proper quality so that they can be used without human intervention. And you cannot give them a separate task. These are weak agents, and people are working on that, but they're still pretty weak. But despite the things that they're doing, large corporations, even the entire startups are working on what will be the next. You have to pave the way for these agents that would be fully operational. And now there are a couple of trends that we can see. The first trend is payments, of course. AI agents might multiply in to such an extent that they would replace some of the routine, mundane tasks that usually humans do right now. For example, you want to order furniture or groceries. And for that, you need to do a lot of transactions manually. You take your smartphone, go to a marketplace and buy these groceries. When the AI systems are more advanced, they would know what are your preferences, and they would ask, do you want your fridge stack to be updated? And they would be able to pay for you. And currently, there are 3 protocols that have been created for these agentic payments. The first protocol was created by Coinbase company. This is a cryptocurrency exchanges, one of the largest in the world. This protocol was launched this year, I think, at the start of the year. No, it's during spring. time, if I remember correctly. The second protocol was launched basically at the same time by Stripe and Google. Stripe is a payment system that mostly work in Europe and the US. And I can currently say that Stripe has signed a contract with OpenAI, and already this week OpenAI users, quite likely these are going to be users who have access in the US, they can make purchases in the chat. So you don't have to do it yourself. So it will find the cheapest smartphone and select the best smartphone for you. ChatGPT would be able to analyze all that, as well as to buy the smartphone at the best price. And these agents will be now able to make these payments. Moreover, if you do not trust AI agent, you want to press that button with your finger, this pay button. Well, that's your choice. You can do that. You can make the settings to do that. Google made the same protocol, and I mean, now obviously since it's Google, they have the largest partnership network. So these companies that connected to this protocol, there were a lot of companies, and it testifies to the fact that when the high-quality agents are created, are developed, the payments will work. And a very recent story last week, Anthropic, maybe you have heard about this company. They develop AI agent that is called Claude. It's one of the high-quality agent, one of the leaders on the market. They tested it on the level of their security team, and they were not testing an AI agent and other AI systems as it is usually done in other corporations. They were testing their Claude and other chatbots for smart contracts. Why? Because smart contracts, it's an ideal testing ground to understand the vulnerabilities of AI and AI-driven systems. The research resulted in the following insight. You don't have to spend a lot of money for ChatGPT, Grok, and Gemini to be hacked. And then something might happen. Something bad. So the convergence of these two technologies, I think there is potential for that. I think there are many cases in the future. Identification, digital identification that is happening in the public services. But there are countries like Switzerland that integrate Ethereum blockchain to use it for identification. That's done on the state level, and that's really cool. Thank you. Thank you very much, Anna, for these insights. Igor, you have a pretty exciting business. You were talking about marking, about coloring, about the technologies that are being used. What's going on with AI in your company? Is it the basis for the business development? Do you see it as a disruptive technology to address the tasks that your customers face? You know, Sergey, I think I would make a more generalized statement. I would say that blockchain is a kind of a father of AI. I would explain. I mean, maybe Bitcoin does not really give any productive work, and it does not give the opportunity to anyone to learn. But this phenomenon of Bitcoin helped to build the competencies around the world, to build very quick and very energy efficient deployment capabilities of the computing power. And the largest companies and largest states are using this precedent to grow compute specifically for AI, including using GPUs. And the second important insight related to that is that in many ways, assets that have been accumulated in cryptocurrency, as we have discussed with Anna when we were talking before this panel session, is the source to finance the developments in AI. For me, that was a revelation. I have never thought about that. Sorry for stealing your idea and voicing it on the panel session, but I think this is a great idea, has a lot of potential. As for our business, blockchain is a very promising field for AI agents. It is very much structured. The data are very consistent and of high quality. And the agents, even not very developed agents, can leverage these data to operate. Our technology is based on AI. In particular, this method called label propagation. That's the basic method here, when structured data are marked by some primary information, and then this risk is propagated up to the relevant block. The other area is heuristic methods, when various transaction activities and other patterns are analyzed to understand what is actually happening in blockchain. And these methods overall should not be really called AI, but this is a machine learning for sure. And it helps you to work as is this new age digital business. Thank you very much. Very exciting. Roman, question to you. Strategy partners. Maybe you have more and more customers who ask you to help them implement Gen AI systems or AI-driven system or some ML components. Is the demand for these consultations high? Well, yeah, I would say that the last 1.5, 2 years, the demand has grown, and there are two trends here. AI applications of separate employees, that has started for quite a long time ago. It is used in consulting and in the real sector companies, and there are some systems for AI implementation where a company is monitoring its business and analyzing its business model and front office and back office, and it thinks how can you integrate AI in these processes to replace humans, to make work more efficient, and to deliver the results quicker. And there you start with the experiments, because the companies have to focus on the metrics that they used before, and they compare the human intellect metrics and machine intelligence metrics.
And very often with some typical tasks, AI performs much quicker than humans. This allows not just reducing costs, but also getting a better result faster, meaning a competitive edge versus the companies that are not using AI. Same goes for the consulting. The companies that Ani mentioned, for instance, McKinsey, BCG, more than 5 years ago, they started applying AI in their business models. This is, of course, associated with certain risks, because AI can create risks, business risks for consulting, but it also gives a lot of benefits. It changes the approach to many tasks in consulting or elsewhere where AI is applied. Can I add a quick comment? Sure. I wanted to say that in July and August, we talked about this, and we still see it, this incredible hype around companies that are not developers, but that are consulting on the use of AI. In Silicon Valley, for example, these companies are raising so much capital that it's breathtaking, really. We do follow these organizations as well. Mr. Greff outlined our own journey, and I don't know if you can call this a KPI, but still a lot of employees use AI in their daily work. We do have this goal as well, and we're striving to achieve it. And unless you do it in the next few years, then it will be too late. We are running out of time. We only have 6 minutes, basically. December, New Year's Eve is coming very soon, so a quick poll for the audience, for people in the hall and watching us online. Please do participate. What are your expectations of 2026 in terms of DFA development? What would you wish? What kind of things would you wish would happen in 2026? And maybe send a couple of words about this. And meanwhile, the speakers will talk about their own expectations. Speaking of digital financial assets, I believe the market will continue to develop very actively. Debt-related DFAs will continue to evolve, and more complex debt-related DFAs included. Loan DFAs, I hope, will emerge very soon, and they will significantly boost the Russian market. And I expect more and more experiments as to how companies can emotionally hook, so to speak, their potential investors by proposing unorthodox payment systems. So, for example, you can get wine or an exclusive tasting session for the wine that will be produced next year because the grapes for it are still growing. Thank you. Ani, what about you? Your expectations, your wishes? Just yesterday, I read about trends in 2026, and there were some very interesting insights. For example, a large investment fund that is currently investing in Google projects and OpenAI. They say that next year there is a likelihood that we will see the first AI native university. Education is already changing. We can add a lot to that, but my main wish for everyone here today and everyone who will be listening to the replay, follow the trends from different perspectives. There is a certain amount of hype, but other than hype, there is some practical use. And it's very important to be able to delineate those, differentiate between those two things, to maintain your mental health, to maintain your money, and to grow your investment portfolio and your projects. So that's my take. Thank you. Igor? My big hope for next year is that our closed DFAs will open up a little bit and will start using public blockchains. And this in turn will help solve once and for all the problem of cross-border transactions. And the second thing, a very important one as well, is working out regulation for DFAs. Something we are looking forward to, and seemingly it's about to be finalized. Thank you. I'd like to wish more successful pilots and successful experiments with DFAs, because thanks to those, the regulatory framework will evolve much faster, because in and of itself, it's rather conservative. Thank you. So these are the most popular answers, everything you've submitted. Hidden agreements, breakthrough. I think it's our third conference, and we hope that at the fourth conference next year, it will once again garner as much attention, because for us, for me personally, the hope is that we have more and more products being developed for our clients, because as a bank, our main job is to make things more convenient for you, faster for you, to keep your investments secure, to make sure your investments make you happier. We cannot stand still because there is so much change happening all around you. We hope that our bank and your organizations and our country remain at the forefront of change. And I hope we can collaborate in making all these things happen. Thank you for the interesting discussion, and hope the rest of the conference is just as interesting.